Hi, I'm Shepard Smith, and I'm proud to have studied journalism at the University of Mississippi. I'm also proud to announce a week of events called It Starts With Me and Meek at the Meek School of Journalism and New Media. The week's theme asks that we refrain from judging people based only on one factor, such as their gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or mental illness. Every year, thousands of people from these groups are the targets of hate crimes, and hundreds of those crimes take place on college campuses. Let's try to change those numbers. We all have a lot more in common than we think. Plan to join me April the 19th through the 25th for It Starts With Me and Meek.
And you notice he said, join me. He will be here Friday to participate. And let me stop that video. Back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so for a t-shirt, where's my t-shirt lady? All right, for a t-shirt, we recently surveyed and almost 300 students in our classes answered. And I'll see if you can guess which percent of Meek School students in the survey thought they had ever been stereotyped by someone else. Who wants to take a guess? Nobody even wants to guess? Yes, ma'am. D is correct. Dr. Winger gets a t-shirt. 88% thought they'd been stereotyped. So now I'd like you to think about it for a second. Based on your gender, your race, your religion, your hair color, whether you're a Greek, whether you were once in the Army, because I know somebody here was, stand up if you think you were ever stereotyped by anyone else. Nothing wrong with it. Wow. Wow. Is anybody still sitting down? I think one person in the back is sitting down. Okay. All right, cool. Not cool, I guess, but thank you. All right, so there's the answer, 88%. What caused them to be stereotyped? Look, the biggest answer is gender. And I'm going to guess that was women answering it. Don't you think, ladies? That was women? Okay. Religion, race, being LGBT, your mental health, your disability, and other. Okay? All right, now, let's see if you can guess what percent surveyed had ever stereotyped another person. Yes, ma'am. 93 is right for a t-shirt. 93% of our students said they probably had stereotyped someone. So our campaign is to ask you to just pause before you stereotype. Okay. So I want to introduce you to the PR students who bravely and over many long hours have planned this event. So I'm just going to go up and down the row and ask them to stand up and say their names. So start with Miss Pickett here. Just say your name.
Hi, I'm Chloe Miley. I'm Grace Miller. I'm Bianca. Brittany Wallace. Hi, I'm Allison Fazio. I'm Haley Head. Dylan Lewis. Ross Fox. Rachel Lynn. Kenny Fuzzy. Billy Rennie. Dylan Fox.
I think that's it. Let's give them a hand because they deserve it. And we have quite a few members who actually had to go to class instead of here. All right, I want to introduce our logo designers. It was a team effort. You've seen our logo all over the building, and that was designed by Grace Baird and Austin Dean, if y'all would stand up. Grace is already up. And then simply because she's a wonderful person, Emily Bowen Moore has designed our program at no compensation other than my saying thank you. So I'd like to publicly thank Emily. Where are you? There you are. Thank you, Emily. And then our other designer, Miss Emma Arnold, where'd she go? Designed everything else. All right. Okay, so let's talk about stereotypes. Let's see if the people up here, if you stereotype them. And this will also be for a T-shirt. Okay? Which speaker is this?
Well, that's a hard one.
That's you. I guess you get the T-shirt, Dean Mitchell. Okay. All right, this person's not on stage, but who is this faculty member? Scott Feeney. There he is, all grown up. Who is this Deke playing ball? Mr. Tonos. Just hang on. And who is this faculty member? Not someone on stage. Mighty cute. Dr. Winger, you claim that picture? All right, so if you had known those people in those years, you might have thought entirely differently of them than you do now. All right, now for a T-shirt. Who on the panel was told in high school by his or her coach, get a haircut, you look like a freak? Anybody want to guess? Yes, it was Charlie Mitchell. All right. Who was how do you say that? There, thank you. Of his or her high school graduating class, but was told by the guidance counselor that he or she should attend trade school. I'm the only one who knows all the answers. Yes. Dr. Cole is not correct. Any other guesses? Not Shawnboda. Which leaves Dr. Caldwell. Can y'all believe that her guidance counselor stereotyped her that way? All right, which person on stage is married to an ordained minister? Dr. Caldwell? No.
They're not very good.
They're not. Any of my committee members want to guess? Dr. Cole. See, you were stereotyping that the minister was a man, weren't you, when you were thinking? Okay. All right. Who won his or her county spelling bee? You want to raise your hand? Miss Mead. Who lettered in 3 sports in high school? Who said Dr. Caldwell? Good guess, good guess. I thought they were going to go for Dr. Cole. Okay. All right, if some of you might know the answer to the next one, so don't answer if you do. Who once worked as a juvenile probation officer? Dead silence. You got to guess. Believe it or not, in my other life, I did. Okay? Good one. Which person on the stage had a father who called UPD when another member of the stage party was protesting on campus? Which stage member was protesting? Dr. Cole. And I say, right on, brother. If I'd been there, I would have been protesting with you. Yeah, my dad was an Ole Miss administrator and Dr. Cole was a student. All right, who's worked as a funeral director? Charlie Mitchell, who said that? And who has a cousin who's a gay Buddhist priest and a niece who was married to a Hispanic tattoo artist? Me. My relatives here knew that. I've been asked a lot over the past few weeks, why are you doing this? What do you know about diversity? Why do you care about diversity? Because I sure look, you know, like an ordinary, straight, white female, right? Well, there are three people I want to quickly introduce you to. This lady is Virginia Hamilton. If you look on the back of her program, it's in her memory. As I grew up, my mother was physically and mentally ill, and to help raise us, my dad brought in this wonderful woman. And she really became a surrogate mother to me. And she taught me who Martin Luther King was. She showed me the picture of Jesus in her house. And I remember we used to take her home, and she would sit in the back seat, because that's what you did. The African-American people sat in the back seat. And I can remember saying to my father, why does she have to sit in the back seat? And I still remember this day when my father said, and we called her Tot, Tot, it's time to get in the front seat. And she is one of the most important people in my life. Okay, speaking of my dad, there he is. Some of you have heard me talk about him. He was here, other than harassing Dr. Cole, he was here during the Meredith crisis. And ever since that time, he struggled with racial reconciliation. And the last thing he did before he died was went to a church-sponsored racial reconciliation program, and he said, I'm finally at peace with this. And so this picture, can y'all tell who that is to his side? That's Teddy Kennedy, came to campus, and my dad is showing him the bullet holes in the Lyceum from the riot, because it was Teddy Kennedy's brothers, of course, John Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, who sent federal troops here. Okay, and the third is my stepson, who told me when he was in high school that he was gay, which I thought was very brave, and he's now happily married, and that's his husband. So you see, I have a lot of diversity in my family. Okay, let's move on to the competition winners. Does anyone know where their certificates went? Yeah, all right, so Bess, if you'll present them, I'll just call them up one by one. All right, so these people not only get a certificate, thanks to the generosity of Dean Mitchell, not his personal generosity, but you get an iPod. Okay, so the first winner of the print ad is Kara Krikorkian. Are you here, Kara? She's not here. I'll keep her iPad. iPod. All right. Nathan Towery designed the Snapchat filter.
Which is live now.
It is? All right.
The Snapchat filter will be live from 9 o'clock today until 3 o'clock next Tuesday. So feel free to
Congratulations, Nathan.
Thank you.
And everyone, if you're on Snapchat, go and use this filter. Okay? Now, in the journalism competition, we had a broadcast package story, and the winner is Tristan Rupert. Okay. Did I give you an eye? Send that to Nathan. Now I'm scared to say I what. Okay. All right, editorial personal essay, Miss Julia Martinez. Congratulations. All right. And in the print article, the judges were so impressed that they gave a bunch of prizes. So the first was Ariel Onstadt, who I believe is not here. Oh, is here. Okay. Okay. And then the second runner-up was, I'm sorry, the first runner-up, Jennifer Fronig. Don't forget that. And a tie for second runner-up, so y'all can come up together, Hannah Hurdle and Amy Rosenthal. And there you go. Now, I want you to download Marvin Gaye, okay, on your... All right. Okay, so now let's hear from our panel members. So I think on the program it first says Dr. Mitchell. So would you like to take the stage, Dr. Mitchell? That is you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. You may.
Sit? Okay.
I prepared about 75 minutes to an hour, mainly to protect y'all from having to listen to Dr. Cole. He always talks about the nuances of calculus. And I was going to spend my time discussing with you some of the ramifications of the commercial speech doctrine, if that's okay. No. It's a serious time, but it's a happy time, and the tenor of this week will be a happy time, I hope, and I hope it continues to be. But as we all know, it is a serious topic. 6 or 7 months ago, Dean Will Norton, who couldn't be with us today, just flatly said that the Meek School was not going to be a place of silence in the face of marginalization or attacks or meanness. And so he commissioned Ms. Street, who's a respected faculty member and a leader of excellent planning, to have the hard conversations that are necessary. And she gathered students, and y'all got busy. And looking over the program, I can tell you that I'm extremely impressed with the detail, the layering. It's going to be a compelling experience for all who are fortunate to participate. It took a lot of careful thought, took a lot of careful work, and I know this will be a successful series of events because your work was not dispassionate. It was professional, but it was not dispassionate. You who worked in designing this program care, and it shows. Many will benefit from your approach to discussing the challenge of talking about diversity because it centers on the power and the freedom that comes when individuals decide not to allow prejudice to infect their minds and their lives. When accusations are made or labels applied, when responses are shrill and demands are made, ears are closed. Reason leaves the room. That's not conversation. Contrary to some views, discussions about diversity are not about politics. They're not about who is a liberal and who is a conservative. They're not about who agrees with who about what issue. Nonetheless, here's a kind of a politics-based illustration that may raise some of your eyebrows. Here's how we'll know headway has been made. It's when we can look out in the grove and see a group playing Frisbee. One will have on a Make America Great t-shirt, cap. One will have green hair, not purple. One will have taken a veil, one will have a rainbow t-shirt, and another may have a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. And what they're doing is playing Frisbee. They're not judging each other, they're not objectifying each other, they're not scorning each other, they're accepting each other. Appreciating diversity encompasses that type of appreciation. It doesn't mean we have to agree on music, and by the way, your iPods have been pre-programmed with some Guy Lombardo favorites of mine. It doesn't mean we have to agree on lifestyles. It doesn't mean we have to agree on whether issues or policy of whether cats are better than dogs or dogs are better than cats, but let me just tell you, dogs are better than cats. It just means that we recognize each other's basic human dignity. When we can get to that place, we're empowered and we're individually enriched. We can have vibrant conversations and we can have attempts to persuade, and we can do so with true appreciation of other views and with respect and with civility. Now that leads me to this, and Robin and I are personally in, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to call her Ms. Street when I'm formal. Ms. Street, Professor Street and I have personal stakes in this. We're both lifelong Mississippians, and we both have a true connection to this topic, even though sometimes it might appear that we wouldn't, or it would not be something we were interested in. So let me tell you about two of my grandchildren. She talked about her dad and her stepson, so I'm going to talk about my two grandchildren who are about 12. Since they were preschoolers, they have been warned by teachers and parents and preachers against the evils of tobacco and illegal drugs. And based on how they talk to me about these subjects, my 12-year-old granddaughter saw a construction worker smoking a cigarette, and she was apoplectic. She wanted to go over and snatch it out of his hand right there. Anyway, it seems to me that perhaps they've been overdosed by being told that only bad people smoke, only bad people use drugs, instead of being told how good it is not to engage in these habits. And similarly, I feel those of you here who are college students, and that's most everybody, you've been told all your lives how bad it is to discriminate, to prejudge, to stereotype. You didn't grow up in Jim Crow days. You were born a quarter century after Dr. King was murdered. You didn't grow up in a time when there was no such thing as a woman physician, engineer, judge, professor. Many of you, in your first opportunity to vote for a president of the United States, had the opportunity to vote for a woman. That had never happened before in national history. And speaking of things presidential, it was Bill Clinton who in 1996 signed the Federal Defense of Marriage Act that decreed that never would any state have to recognize a same-sex marriage. As it turned out, never lasted less than 20 years. But the discussion does, of course, remain intense. Anyway, here's the point, because I don't want to cut too much into your appreciation of calculus when Dr. Cole gets up here. Just as with my grandchildren, all your lives you've been preached at about the evils of prejudice and discrimination, when it was the generations before yours that practiced this far more aggressively, and sometimes often within the confines of the law itself. So you're bound to resent it, to feel overdosed like my grandchildren are, or at least a little bit intimidated by all the sermonizing. Why are all these people who flagrantly practice these things so insistent that I be different? And that if I'm not, I'm a bad person. I'm a hater. Well, what I like about this roster and love about this roster is that the series of events that will be unfolding in the next several days are not about that, because the students that were introduced earlier told Ms. Street that they simply could not and would not endure another lecture about being preached at. So their focus, their theme, and I believe it is the right theme, is to expose you and me to this personal liberation that comes with a personal decision against prejudging others. As the name of the program affirms, embracing diversity is not a group activity. We won't all hold hands and embrace diversity as a collective. It's done as an individual. It starts with each person. It's a decision we control. It's a decision we make for ourselves, okay? So pause, as the program says, and think about how good it is not to be burdened by any tendency to lump people into groups, people you don't even know, and to decide that they're good or they're bad, or that you like them or you don't like them. You have the power to claim and expand your own freedom and your own happiness simply by allowing everybody else to do the same. Thank you.
Wow. Wow, that was great, Dean Mitchell. All right, you got a hard act to follow.
Got it off the internet.
Okay. Shawnboda, I have you next. If you, So Ms. Shawnboda Reed, I'll take your chair.
Thank you very much. I had to prepare to follow Dr. Cole. I was really nervous about it. So, but Dean Mitchell, you're also a hard act to follow too. So, so thank you very much. It's certainly a pleasure to offer welcoming remarks at this opening ceremony. The discussions, lectures, and panels that will take place over the next week are all very timely. So I hope members of the community will take full advantage of these opportunities and use this as a time for personal reflection, growth, and learning about your own identities, because there's still so much for each of us to learn about ourselves and also that of others. I'm especially honored and proud that Ms. Street invited the Center for Inclusion and Cross-Cultural Engagement to take part in this week's events and offer feedback and suggestions throughout the planning process. I believe our campus will be a better place as a result of your efforts and all of your students' efforts. And I do hope that other schools will also follow your lead. I think this is a great start in enhancing our overall diversity inclusion efforts. No one particular area has to own this work. And so I'm just especially grateful of your leadership and that the School of Journalism has taken this step for our community. You know, beyond the numbers of recruiting a diverse student body, it's really all of our responsibilities to make sure that all of our students feel welcomed and valued. That's the difference between diversity and inclusion, right? So diversity is numbers. We can all look different, but even though we may all be in one room and we all might look alike, that doesn't mean that we're all included, that we're valued, that we're able to be who we are uniquely ourselves. And so I think this It Starts with Meek campaign reminds us that, you know, while race is an important part of this conversation and has to be a part of the conversation, especially at the University of Mississippi, that there's so many other aspects of diversity that we need to also consider and include in our conversations. And then in doing so, we learn more about, again, our own identities and also that of others, and how they influence our daily interactions. That's the key part. Like, how does me and all of my identities, how does that impact, how does that show up in the room when I'm interacting and I'm having conversations, you know, with someone else that doesn't maybe look like me, or maybe they don't, you know? And so those are the things that I think is important as a part of this week of programming to really think about. Oftentimes when you think about diversity work, there's a misconception that you have to know it all, that you might say the wrong thing, that you might offend someone. There's fear that's sometimes associated with digging deep and having these conversations. And so, you know, I think this campaign is a reminder that each and every one of us in this room and across our campus can make a difference as it relates to in improving our diversity efforts on campus. You don't have to have some fancy title. Like us, these folks sitting here, or my title is super long, but that doesn't mean that I know more than any of you. I think we all equally can contribute, and we can all learn and grow from one another. So I do challenge you to ask yourselves, what can you do? What is just one simple thing you can do? So I actually want you to do that right now, as the theme is pause. Pause right now and just think, what's one thing I can do to increase or improve diversity and inclusion efforts on our campus? Just one thing. Anybody want to share? Anybody come up with something? This is the part where you talk back to me. Yes. Just smile. Smile. Does it cost anything? No, it's free, right? What's that? What else? Something else? One thing. Anybody else?
Give someone you don't know a compliment.
Give someone you don't know a compliment, right? So easy things, simple things. You never know what someone else is going through, what they're experiencing that day, and so that smile or that compliment might just make all the difference, right? And it makes our campus feel more welcoming, and overall, that's our goal. We want to make sure that all students, faculty, staff, regardless of who you are or where you're from, that you are welcomed on this campus. And here's some other things, some just simple things that you can do. Expand your knowledge base, and I think that's starting today. You are here, you showed up, and so you're ready to participate in this week of events. So stepping out of your comfort zone, learning about others, reading, traveling, meeting new people, attending unfamiliar cultural events, taking classes. There's so many things that don't cost any money oftentimes that you can really take advantage of. Well, classes do cost, but you know, outside of those. Becoming aware of your own biases. Who doesn't have any biases at all? All right, good. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to tell anybody that you were a liar. Yes, we all do. We all have them. We all have preconceived misconceptions and notions about other people. And so the first step in overcoming those biases is accepting them and acknowledging that, yes, I am biased towards whatever group of people. So how can I work through those biases so that I can be a better member of this community, be a better friend? Being mindful of the language you use. Certain common expressions can unintentionally be very hurtful to specific groups of people. So things like, that's so gay, or that's so retarded, or you know, calling someone ghetto. Those are all things that we say on a regular basis, and oftentimes you don't think anything about. But those words do have meaning, and they can be very harmful. And along those lines, interrupting insensitive jokes and comments. So when you hear someone say those types of things, you say, hey, like, what do you mean by that? Questioning what they mean and helping them understand that that's not something that you should say, or that's not something that you should do. And it's hard. I know it's easier said than done, but silence means what? Consent oftentimes. And so if you don't want, someone would never know that they are saying something that's harmful if you never like call them out and share that information with them. Don't ask others to speak on behalf of their entire group. As an African-American woman, I don't speak on behalf of all African-American women. I don't know every African-American woman's experience. So that's the same for all of us. None of us can speak or represent our a whole population of people. So it's important that we never ask or expect someone to speak on behalf of an entire group. Avoiding stereotyping remarks. So those blanket statements like, all you women are this, or all men are this, or all Ole Miss students are this, or all fraternity boys are this, right? So those stereotyping marks that further perpetuate negative stereotypes, this is something that you want to also be mindful of. And then finally, speaking up, don't be silent. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that we can all do as a member of this community as we think about progressing forward and moving forward and making sure that everyone feels welcome. What role can you play? And when you hear something that someone is experiencing, maybe it's a microaggression, maybe someone is stereotyping another person, speak up in that moment. Don't be silent. I know it's easier said than done, but it's certainly always going to be the right thing to do. So I think that, you know, Robin, thank you so much for this invitation again. And I hope that there's so much that all of us can learn from one another. So I do hope that participating in these events throughout the next few days will be a great first step. And I encourage you to continue that learning and that quest for knowledge as you go throughout your time as a student here or as a member of the campus community. Congratulations again, and certainly many kudos to all of the students and faculty who've been involved in the planning of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Dr. Cole? And don't be offended, they have class to go to. Perfect. Wow. Y'all sure aren't being very polite. But they do have a 10 o'clock class.
Understandable.
matter of fact, I have too, so I'll leave that.
Okay. All right, Dr. Cole.
Okay, thank you. And Charles, even though I'm doing a Cal 2 this semester, I won't limit my remarks to anything that I'm doing in that class. And if you were in that class, you would probably be making an A, I'm sure.
Get through Cal 1.
Oh, that's.
That'd never be there.
Thank you all for those opening remarks. They were just so on time, I tell you. And welcome to the opening ceremony of the It Starts With Meek conference, sponsored by the Meek School of Journalism and New Media. From time to time, there are signature events that takes place on our campus that marks a milestone in the history of this institution. And I believe that this conference is one such event. So in years to come, people will ask you, where were you when the Mead conference took place? And you will be able to answer, I was there at the opening session, watching old handsome Dr. Cole speaking, nothing else. At a very unique point in our lives, very unique. Debates on our own institution about conflicting idealisms. Finding ways to celebrate our state's perplexing 200-year history that we're in the midst of right now. Witnessing our nation's divisive ideologies being played out on a daily basis in our governmental facilities. We are currently examining and re-examining fundamental philosophies. What type of people are we? Who is it that we want to be as a nation? What are our priorities? And so, as these questions are asked, it is fitting that our educational institutions lead these discussions. And it is imperative that the University of Mississippi plays a decisive role in these discussions. And moreover, it is appropriate that journalists lead the way in these discussions. And that is exactly what this conference allows us an opportunity to do here at this time and this place in our history. And from this conference, you will get out of it only what you put into it. And it is my expectations by the conference ends, we would have been rejuvenated physically, morally, and spiritually. And that our efforts here would be noticed and recorded far beyond this campus. This will happen only if we all give it our all. So, I'm encouraging you to participate fully in this conference. Not only in your attendance here, but it's important that your voice be heard. It's important that you participate in conversations. I congratulate Ms. Robin Street and Dean Norton and the School of Journalism and all the committee that went together to put this conference on today. For I believe that at this conference end, we would have examined ourselves thoroughly. And at its conclusion, we will discover that, Ole Miss, what lies behind us, or what lies before us, are very, very tiny matters as compared to what lies within us. And because I have watched individuals like yourself come and go for over 50 or so years, I know what's in you. And it is our job to help shape that, so that when you leave this place, you carry something with you. You carry an education for a lifetime, and you carry the ability to influence this nation and guide her to her promise. And toward that end, I again extend my sincere welcome to all of you for attending this life-changing conference. Thank you.
I believe if Dr. Cole also wanted to be a minister, he sure sounds qualified, don't you? Okay. Remember, keep your program, get at least 2 stamps on it, bring it to the tent festival on Tuesday, and you get a free t-shirt. Wear purple, and you get a free Chick-fil-A treat. And in just a minute, I'm going to play you out with a video my students made to the Black Eyed Peas, Where's the Love? But before we do that, I'm going to do something I learned at the Episcopalian Church, but it's not religious. At the end of the service, they ask you to turn to someone you don't know, shake their hand, and say, peace be with you. And the response is, and also with you. So would you everyone find someone you don't know, if you're willing to participate, peace be with you, and also with you. Peace.
And also with you.
And also with you.